Good morning, friends. My name is Elena. This is Wellspring Home. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Today we are going to flavor some kombucha and go ahead and start the process of making a new batch. So this is two and a half weeks old at this point and has been just kind of sitting and fermenting for a couple weeks. First thing I'm gonna do is get some hot water heating to start the next batch. Whenever I start one batch on the second ferment flavoring, I go ahead and start another batch of kombucha at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get about 8 cups of water boiling so I can go ahead and brew the tea for the next batch. Okay. All right, let me grab a bucket for I'll use this. Let me rinse this out. I use this to proof or bulk ferment my sourdough. So let me rinse this. So if you're not familiar with kombucha, it's a fermented tea. So this guy right here is, I just washed my hands really well because I do not want to introduce any other types of bacteria. This is a SCOBY, which stands for, it's SCOBY. It stands for a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. I have one of these, was the starter SCOBY that a friend of mine gave me to start my kombucha, and then since I have been brewing it, this is probably my fifth or sixth batch now, I have developed as another one. Some people do what's called a SCOBY hotel, where they kind of store their SCOBYs, their extra SCOBYs, in kombucha in a jar like this. I'm pointing this way because my pantry's over there. That's where I would keep it. That way they kind of stay good for several months at a time. I don't know exactly what the point of that is. I'm still very much a beginner when it comes to kombucha making. Let me grab a kitchen towel. I'm very much a beginner, so like I said, this is only my my fifth or sixth batch. But I'm gonna set these aside. I'm also gonna set aside about a cup or two of this kombucha as my starter for the next batch. And then I'll get out my, my fine mesh sieve. I can't always find things in the house. My precious husband often does the dishes first thing in the morning because he gets up before everybody else. He very often does the dishes and puts everything away, and sometimes I don't know where he put things. So I'm going to go ahead and strain this into this bucket, and this is just so that I can flavor it. So this kombucha has been going through its first ferment, so you'll see the process here in a bit. And it's been fermenting for, like I said, about 2.5 weeks. Now we're going to get into the second ferment. This is where it really gets more carbonated, and this is when you add any kind of flavoring. You can drink it like this, just plain. I like mine flavored, and today we're going to just flavor with strawberry. Most of the batches I've made, I've done with strawberry and mint, which has been really delicious. I don't have any mint right now, and I just didn't have the forethought to pick some up. So we're just going to do strawberry. I'm going to rinse this glass to get it ready for the next batch, and I'm going to kind of rinse off. You can see like little bits of mini SCOBY in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah. Little bits of mini SCOBY in there that we just strained out. So this is all rinsed. I'm just going to set it aside here. Now, and then this is my SCOBY and my starter kombucha. I'll set those aside as well while we work on flavoring this batch. And this is the little it's a breathable fabric that goes over the top. You don't want to cover with paper towel or anything that can introduce particles into the kombucha, because that can really mess it up. So again, my friend who gave me her SCOBY to get started also gave me this little fabric top for the jar. You also don't want to have anything that's completely sealed for the first ferment, because you want the airflow that helps the yeast and bacteria, and that helps introduce more, kind of like a sourdough starter if you're familiar with that. Either way, you don't want anything that's going to completely seal it off at that stage. This second stage you do, because this is when it's going to carbonate, and I'll get to that in a minute. All right, let me grab my strawberries. Okay, got these all washed. Now these are not organic strawberries. I really should be buying organic strawberries because they have the highest rates of pesticide, or I don't know the proper way to say that. They generally, strawberries have the most amount of pesticides of any fruit or vegetable. And so for a long time I was buying organic strawberries. I did not do that this week. But I'm gonna just cut these up. I'm not gonna use all of these. Honestly, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball what I think, because I wanna save some of these because the kiddos love to eat strawberries with their lunches. And these little tops will go. I've got a bowl going for scraps for my chickens. So these strawberry tops will go in there. So, but what we're gonna do is blend the strawberry. Like I said, I've been doing strawberry and mint, and that has been really good. We'll blend this up, and then we'll stir it into the kombucha and put it in airtight bottles, and that will start the second ferment, which we'll do for probably 2 to 3 days. So that imparts the flavor into the kombucha. And then because there's so much sugar in the strawberries, we're also going to add some sugar to this as well. I'll get to that in a second. The sugar from the just table sugar and the strawberries will help to carbonate the kombucha as well. Typically, homemade kombucha doesn't get quite as, in my experience, it doesn't get quite as carbonated as store-bought kombucha. I'm gonna stop there simply because that's about as much as my little blender cup can handle. And I think that is gonna be enough for us. I enjoy the flavor of kombucha plain, so I don't mind it being kind of lightly flavored. Grab some sugar. The first few batches of kombucha that I made I did not add sugar to this part, and they ended up getting almost like an apple cider vinegar taste. They just got too vinegary for me. I like it just be slightly sweeter. And then I don't remember the name of the YouTube channel. I found a YouTube channel that is like all about kombucha, and she said that she makes hers at this stage sweeter than she would want it, because remember that bacteria and yeast are going to kind of eat that sugar, and that's what produces the CO2 to carbonate it. So it'll get more acidic and less sweet as it ferments. So I added 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm trying to remember, I think in the last batch I did, I wish that I had added more. So we'll do 4. So that was actually 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to blend this up. And I'll try to remember to link that YouTube page, the kombucha one that I was talking about. She is a wealth of knowledge. I don't remember her name. I don't really remember much about her other than her whole channel was dedicated to kombucha, and she gave me a lot of really great information. This blended up. I'm gonna set this aside just a minute so that we can go ahead and get our tea brewing for the next batch. So let me grab my big bowl. Okay, so I need between 4 and 8 cups of boiling water, or hot water. I think they say you're not supposed to brew tea at a boiling temperature, so that was 4. There's probably a better way for me to do this than in a bowl, but because this water is so hot, I didn't want to put it in one of those big plastic tubs, so I just used this metal bowl, and that's 8. And then I'm just using plain black tea. I have 4 tea bags left over. I had a different brand that was an organic black tea, and this is the last 4 bags from there, but I need 8 to 10 bags. We have 8 cups of water in here, and we want it to be a little bit more concentrated because I'm going to add water to it to cool it down. So I'll probably go ahead and do 10 bags of tea so that it's a more concentrated tea. So that was 4, so then I need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Give that a little stir, and then I'll set this aside, and this needs to steep for 15 to 20 minutes. So while we're flavoring and bottling the current batch, we'll get this steeping for the next batch. Set that back here. Ooh, that bowl is hot. This away. Okay, I have 5 of these bigger 20-ounce bottles. I thought that I had more of these somewhere, but I'm not sure. I know one of them I'm using for my homemade vanilla. I don't know where the other ones are, but I have some smaller bottles if we need them, which I think we will, because this is a gallon of kombucha, and these go between 16 and 20 ounces depending on how full you make them. Funnel. Get that ready. All right, we are going to go ahead and put our sugar and strawberry mixture. I love how just like bright pink strawberry gets when you blend it up. Get all that goodness in there. I really do wish that I had the mint because I love the like herby flavor that the mint gives, but we're just gonna try the strawberry. And we will mix this up. This is a little bit of a messy process for me. I think I've mentioned before that I am not very neat when I cook and bake. So you'll probably see me spilling all over the counter and whatnot, and I will clean all of that up when I'm finished. Should I have put this away? I need it. In full transparency, this is the second time I have filmed this video. The first time, I was going to try a new flavor that I had never done before. I don't want to get that pink on my shirt. I'm just gonna go ahead and start filling these bottles, and I'm gonna make sure that I continue to stir between pours so that all the parts of strawberry don't settle to the bottom. I was going to try a new flavor, which was mint and lime, almost like a mojito. Well, I decided without doing any research that I wanted to try blending the whole lime. I had seen that in a video for a different recipe. So I tried blending the whole lime really quick. You can see, hopefully, yep, I'm looking at my monitor over here. You can see that it's a little bit carbonated at this point. Hopefully, ooh, the cup is still warm, the glass is still warm. I was like, why is this so hot? The glass is warm from that warm water. It's a little bit carbonated now. The goal with putting it in a sealed glass like this is that it becomes more carbonated, because this, once you put it in the fridge, that carbonation will die pretty quickly. So anyway, there I go spilling already. I decided that it was a good idea to try blending whole limes for that instead of just the lime juice. Why is this spilling so much? I don't want to waste all the goodness. Let's try with this hand. Long story short, it tasted terrible. I could not even drink it. It was so bitter because of the pith from that lime. And I thought about posting it anyway because I think it's good to see mistakes, and maybe I'll put some of that footage in, but probably not. It was horrible. It was completely inedible. I ended up pouring most of it down the sink. I used some of it. I've heard that you can use kombucha in as fertilizer for plants. You mix it, I think 1-to-1. Please do not take my word for this. You research it yourself, because I don't actually know. I actually don't know if I ended up using any of that in the plants because it was flavored, and I wasn't sure if the acidity of the lime was gonna throw off the plants or not. But either way, it was completely undrinkable. It was horrible. Even my husband, who likes everything, he tasted it and was like, yeah, not your best batch. I was like, of course, the one that I filmed was the one that tastes really bad. So I had to wait another week and a half to be able to, or more than that, I had to wait a couple weeks to be able to refilm this one. And it's been 2 weeks without my kombucha. The reason that I've really gotten into kombucha lately is because normally I very regularly have probiotic yogurt, and I kind of get my probiotics that way. However, my baby, who I'm breastfeeding, is, at this point, my baby is 4 months old, and he's sensitive to dairy, and I am nursing, so I can't eat my probiotic yogurt or it gives him a tummy ache. Ah! I knew that was gonna happen. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna clean these up, or clean the counter up. These will go in the top of my pantry for a couple days, and then we'll come back and do a taste test in a few days, 2 to 3 days typically. The longer you let them second ferment, the more acidic they will get, so we'll see. I may try it in a few days, decide it's too sweet, and let it ferment a little bit longer. And then once these are ready, we'll move them to the fridge and they'll be ready to drink. But I'll show you guys, we'll do a little taste test together in a few days once these are ready. So we'll get these in the pantry and then we'll start working on getting that next batch brewed. All right, let's get to our new batch. So while I was waiting for this to steep, I just went ahead and cleaned up everything, washed the dishes, put away the appliances, because this needed a few more minutes to steep. But it's been a good 15 minutes now. I'll take out these bags. My friend who gave me her SCOBY and instructions and all that good stuff she specifically said not to squeeze the tea bags when you take them out because it'll make the tea bitter. And I did not know that. So I appreciated that little tip. I'm not really a tea drinker other than kombucha. I'm a coffee gal. So my instinct would have been to squeeze the tea bags as I pulled them out. So I appreciate her saying that. Oops, hot. Okay. These are compostable if you have a compost. Okay, let's move over to the sink and we will pour this in here and then fill it the rest of the way with water. Okay, so I'm gonna set this in here and try just very carefully. I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this. Stopped just shy of the bottom because there is some sediment at the bottom. I think one of the tea bags was broken. And then I'm just going to fill it the rest of the way up with water, and that will also bring the temperature of the tea down. If you were to put the SCOBY in while it's still really hot, it would just kill all the yeast and bacteria. I'm going to leave a little bit of space at the top to add my starter tea. This is still just a little bit warm. I'll let it cool for a few more minutes before I pour in my SCOBY and the starter tea. Okay, this is cooler now, so I'm not worried about it killing my SCOBY. So I'm just going to put these in here. I'm just going to go ahead and put them both because they're both still really healthy. There's no, one side I've heard, this has not happened to me yet, but one side will apparently get really dark. Pour the starter tea in there. Will get really dark when it's time to retire a SCOBY. Those both still look pretty healthy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put them both in there, and maybe at some point I'll get another gallon-sized jar and start a SCOBY hotel. I hope that was enough starter tea. You're supposed to do 1 to 2 cups of starter tea. I didn't really measure it out, but I think it was at least a cup, so it should be okay. So I'm going to plop this onto the top, and I will put this in my pantry to ferment for, I like to ferment it for about 2 weeks. Honestly, I kind of just leave it until whenever I can get to it. So this, like I said, or the last batch, sat for about 2.5 weeks. I think you can do as little as 10 days. It kind of just depends on your environment, how warm it is, and how sour you like your kombucha. I just try to make it fit in my life and my schedule and get to it whenever I can. So I'll put this up and then I'll see you in a few days to taste our batch that we just flavored. Hi guys, it is three days later, and I thought we would give our kombucha a little test. It's the end of the day today and the kids are down, so I thought what better time to crack open a bottle. Got some ice in a glass. Let's see if we are fizzy at all. Not as much carbonation as I had hoped for. Let's give it a taste. Definitely got more toward the like sour acidic side. It's really good. I prefer it a little bit sweeter. I think I could have stood to add a little bit more sugar, and it did not get very carbonated, which is interesting. Usually when I have it in these sealed bottles, it gets pretty carbonated. But the flavor's really good. The strawberry flavor really comes through. It's just more on the sour side. It is tasty though. It's pretty yummy. I think I will make a note that going forward, I'll add a little bit more sugar. I think we did 1/4 cup, so 4 tablespoons. I'll probably add maybe 6 tablespoons next time and see what we think of that. The strawberry flavor is really good though. Okay, editing Elena here. Apparently I did not film an outro for this video, but thank you so much for being here with me to make kombucha. This was not the best batch I ever made, but I wanted to show you what actually goes on in my kitchen and not just only the perfect times. I ended up going back and adding some sugar to each of the bottles just to make them taste a little better. It's a little bit too late to up the carbonation at this point, but I know next time I need to add more sugar than I did, and that'll help the carbonation as well. But thank you so much for being here with me today. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on this video. Good night.